What's up everyone, this is ScherBR talking. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video we'll be doing a review for Ultra Deluxe Human Female banner that actually brings Human Female, Esper Girl, Human Male and Mech. Only Human Female and Esper Girl are limited, and in my opinion the best character here is Esper Girl. Although Human Female is pretty powerful, being able to use 4 SSS attacks in 5 turns, something never heard of. We do have Leon and other blunt damage dealers, while Esper Girl is a support unit with damage, Human Male is a tank, and Mech is a farmer. Well, let's start talking about Human Female. She's a martial arts unit that does slash and blunt damage, and there's another character that do that, Boston, and also Azami, but still a little unique. We have 3 different styles. The S style is given out in events. The first one was limited, now in color. Now we have the UDX, the Heroine of Rives. Well, when you compare the past status, we got a much higher STR, going from 88 to 105%. We got now 15% more agility as well. The other status don't matter as much, but she at least has higher will. She can take some magical attacks and average love and charisma. The only thing that she loses is against endurance, 5% less. We have double arrows for STR, 1 arrow for agility. They did this because the past version has inverse. You get more agility with this one, but it's not going to matter too much if you don't have this one, to be honest. For passive, the first one is Mastery, 1 STR and agility. I don't really like this type of passives too much, but at least when it buffs agility, it does have merits. You get 5% STR, 5% agility, and 1 BP on the start of a turn. The agility part is the most interesting one because she already has 115. That is extremely high. We can even go here and filter characters by agility, and you will find that you have the highest one right now with Human Female. She even beats Leonid on this regard. They knew that Leonid is a very good character, and she wanted to have the highest agility because she wants to evade, and this is part of her strategy. You will not find like 15% buff to agility every turn. The developers don't want a character that can evade and do solo content. We could do that with Red back in the days, but it's not something that you can do anymore. At least in this case, it's good. Then the second pass is called Heroine Power. On the start of a turn, she grants herself an attack boost that increases damage by 30% and lasts for only 1 turn, but it can trigger 3 times in battle. So turn 1 you have this, turn 2 you have this, and turn 3 you have it, but then from turn 4 and beyond it disappears. Besides that, you also get plus 2 BP on turn 1, 2 and 3, giving her 6 BP more than any other character just with this passive. Is it good enough? Well, for farming it is. You're just going to get more damage and more BP, but for boss fights after 3 turns you just don't have this anymore. Maybe it's not as good as it could have been, a different passive that will work all the time. Then we have fired up 6, increasing damage at all times by 30%. This is stable at least. So you have 60% for 3 turns, then after that it's only 30%. At least it works for all types of damage. Now we need to talk about her skills. First one is Roundhouse Kick, a deep power blunt attack that hits all enemies with 10 mod. That's actually pretty nice. You can even compare this to Leonid again because they are the first ones that have something so cheap for AoE. Leonid can do it with 1 BP with lower power, of course, and now she can do it only 2 BP. That is why they wanted her to have a type of cycle where she can attack with AoE 3 times, and Roundhouse Kick is part of it. Let's talk about the third skill then, Wild Overrun. This is an AoE attack that has 8 power and 32 mod. That's nice. It could have been just 30, it's 32, and blunt damage against all enemies. So actually you can open the fight and use Wild Overrun, and then Roundhouse Kick, and then you still have enough BP to use Wild Overrun again. Why? When you start the fight you only have 10 BP, but then on the second turn you have 2 extra from Heroine Power and 1 extra from Mastery. So you actually get 6 BP between turn 1 and turn 2. That will allow you to do Wild Overrun on turn 1, Roundhouse Kick on turn 2, and Wild Overrun again on turn 3. On auto, that is pretty nice for farming. Her damage will be good because STR and agility are pretty high. It's just that martial arts units are harder to use than gunners, but at least this is a very, very good cycle anyway. Then we have Wrecking Glass. This was buffed in global. It's now an 8 PP attack that uses blunt and slash with triple S power, and it buffs her agility by up to 25% on max level. You can use Wrecking Glass on turn 1 and turn 2 because of the passives, but you cannot use again on turn 3. You have to skip one turn, sadly, and Wrecking Glass is going to be so good on her because you're already getting agility from Mastery 1. She already has very high agility from her status, so using twice will allow you to evade some attacks. So, an evasion tank. But she does not counter, so, well, could be better, I think. But then Wrecking Glass, even through if you have to skip some turns, it's going to be nice because even after Heroine power disappears, you still have 4 BP a turn, right? So she's going to cycle this with something you can inherit from her as style. Cat's Claw, it's a 3 BP attack that gives you back 3 BP. It's a slash, it's not blunt and slash, so there's that. You can just inherit, and after Wrecking Glass is not available anymore, you're going to leave it that Cat's Claw on 3 BP. She's going for that too. She has an AoE attack, and we'll cycle between Cat's Claw, Wrecking Glass, Cat's Claw, Wrecking Glass. She's going to buff her agility, increasing the damage and increasing the evasion rates. It's interesting, I have to admit. Sadly, just from the damage standpoint, she does not beat Leon. Leon is someone that everyone has now, I hope. Leon is stronger because Leon has anti-material shot, a triple S attack, and after he uses anti-material shot, he's going to use Wind Chaser, and then on the second turn, he's going to use Quick Draw and have again Wind Chaser, and then on turn 3, anti-material shot again and Wind Chaser. And if you don't remember, anti-material shot debuffs endurance. He may not be buffing his dexterity to increase damage, but he's decreasing the status that is checked when you are doing damage. So yeah, good, but does not beat Leon, a character that most people will have. But depending on the situations, you can just use Leon in the back of a hurricane formation while you place human female in the front line where it increases both STR and agility. It's harder to find formations that benefit martial artists the same way that it benefits other types of characters. Another type of formation you can use is Scattered, but then you have to use other martial artists together. That may be harder to find if you don't have that many. But Wrecking Glass will work in boss fights, just that Leon is a champion that will kill most bosses by his own strategies. If you have all the needed pieces like buffing his dexterity, increasing your resistance with something else, heals, he works. He is a solo boss killer. While can also use human female in different strategies where you want to evade. Is this extremely useful? I have to say no. Right now enemies have such a high accuracy, they are trying to make that so that you cannot evade in boss fights. Right now I need like 5 or sometimes 4 agility buffers to enter evasion, while she will be able to because of Wrecking Glass, of course, but still may not be enough. You may still have to use someone like Metrarch with Paean of Victory to buff it even further so that she really evades, and then she may not beat Leon, so why are you using her in a boss fight? I can still say that she's going to be very good for farming and also for raids, but you can just keep using Leon on boss fights and you will not feel like you are missing out by skipping human female, and that is a waste. I wish she was more useful. I guess that Heroine power could be reworked in a way, or Fired Up 6 have something else, but it's just that martial arts units are a little more restricted in usage than someone like Leon. And in order to understand the attack cycle of human female, I made a spreadsheet so that we can know when exactly she can use her triple S attack. Well, on turn 1 you have enough VP. Turn 2 you still have enough VP. On turn 3 you will not have enough because of how Heroine power works. It will give you VP, but you cannot use on the same turn. Then you'll be able to use again on turn 4 and on turn 5. So essentially what you get here is 4 triple S attacks in 5 turns. Only 1 turn you have to use Cat's Claw. There's only one problem. You will lose the attack boost from Heroine power for turn 3 and beyond, so actually she will do less damage over time, but since she is buffing her agility to compensate, it's not gonna be much of a loss, and she will also compete against Ninja Azami on this regard. She's doing blunt and slash damage, covering for 2 different types. I believe that if you use her on the Zert Lance Axe formation, she's gonna evade a lot, although with some restrictions. Like I said recently, the game is making bosses with such a high accuracy that this may not happen, but it's a novelty that when it works, it's going to be amazing. But even then, we do have other characters that can buff agility every turn, and they have real difficulty evading current content. I can talk about, for example, Xeno. He has 95 agility, that's not as high, of course, but he can use light speed plus 4 times in a row, or as much as he wants for a long period of time, and he's not evading. Whereas your human female eventually will only be able to buff agility every 2 turns. That means that it's pretty good on paper, but on execution may not work so well. And if you want another character with access to buff, you can just wait for the next Alkaiser. He can buff his agility twice with skill number 3, and that means 50% increase on that specific turn. It costs 10 BP on JP, and he gets access to 4 every turn. But who knows about the future? He may be buffed in global when he gets released, and he will do blunt and stun damage. It's a little different, but in longer fights, he gets more agility buffs than human female. Talk about from inheritance, like human female pass style has Ace in the Glass, but you cannot use this on turn 1, only on turn 2, and doesn't have buff. Mech Drift can at least be used twice in a row. This one is only blunt, but well, there are better blunt attackers if you are using gunners again. And from her S style, you do have Stomp Plus if you inherit and amplify. It deals a little more damage than her Wrecking Glass, but well, it doesn't buff her agility anyway, so it's not something that I would do. I want to use human female the way she is, without inheritance, does not matter. You can go for full AoE setup, or then use Wrecking Glass for a single target, and then inherit her Cat's Claw so that you can just switch between single target cycles. This is interesting, but there were also many blunt damage dealers recently. We got Leonid, like I said. Leonid also chases, he's pretty strong. If you got him, he can inherit Black Pearl from his Platinum style, and he keeps attacking 3 times. It's very good, only 3 BP cost. He may not evade as much, but he deals damage and can debuff Dexterity. And we also got the 2 Lobsters. Boston, this one can also counter, and Valdor. So there's many martial arts units recently, and they may be enough. If you don't want to summon on this banner, you can skip her easily. More about personal preference about using her, and if you find utility on a Spell Girl, since both are on the same banner. But because there's only 2 limited styles here, it decreases the value of human female by a lot. Moving on to the next character, Spell Girl. I know a lot of people are curious about this review. I did say that she will receive a triple S grade, and I stand by my decision. Well, we have 3 different versions of Spell Girl in the game. One is an S that was given out in events, and then we have the top 1 Supernatural Powers, the first limited version, and then I will decide for myself the current one so that we can compare both. We have lower STR. Well, doesn't matter. We do have a little higher endurance. She's still pretty fragile for physical damage. Dexterity is around the same. Agility is inferior. Actually, not much of a problem besides accuracy. Remember, accuracy for mages is based on agility and intelligence. Intelligence is just a little better, but we lose the bonus, so it will be around the same. The will is just similar, but we get much higher love and, well, pretty much similar charisma. This character does not have arrows for intelligence or agility, because it has a different design. You can look, it has arrows actually for will and love, where she also gets arrows. If you are missing out on the first limited style that has double arrows for intelligence, you are going to use the S style. You'll only be losing on 2 intelligence points. That's not gonna make much difference. You also have endurance here, so you're gonna get a little more. Well, by the status distribution, she needed to have the status spread it out. She needs agility, she needs intelligence, she needs will, she needs love, she needs charisma. Why? She needs will because she does not want to get inflicted with status ailments. She's a support unit, so the higher the will, the higher the resistance. And well, she's a healer, so she needed love and charisma, and that is why her agility and intelligence took a hit, although not a big one. Well, for passes, we have Mastery 1 Intelligence and Love. On the start of a turn, she gets a buff of 5% intelligence, 5% love, and recovers 1 BP. To be honest, I don't really like Mastery buffs, because 5% hardly matters that much. She needs more intelligence to increase her accuracy. Love will to help her heal more, but the values are pretty small. But recovering 1 BP is key into her own design. More into that later. For the second passive, we have Reinvigorate 1 Intelligence. When landing an attack, she increases her own intelligence by 15% and recovers 1 BP. Well, this is one of the best types of passives, only losing to some that buff before you attack. But because this one also gives her 1 BP, she gets access to 5 BP a turn when she attacks, and now buffing her intelligence by 20% every turn. If you're attacking, that is amazing, making her increase her intelligence to increase the accuracy and the damage levels of her attacks. Now the last one is called High Protect Tension. She increases damage by 20% at all times and decreases the damage that she receives by 30%. Yeah, offensive and defensive, and very good for long fights. The Spell Girl was actually made for long fights, so she will receive less damage and not die so much because she's a support unit. That's amazing. Like Matriarch and iToken, hers is 30% because hers have damage as well, both offensive and defensive. Well, with that said, let's move on to skills. The first one is called Healing Rod. For 3 BP, you have heal, should be enough in most cases. Then the second one is called Telekinesis, and, well, this one is the selling point of this character. For 5 BP, what you get is single target damage, heat, and shadow. Well, this is clashing with Barthélemy. We'll compare her to Barthélemy later. B power and 27 mod. 27 mod is actually the last mod before an attack becomes A power. So we couldn't even say that it's too close to that. And she will heal all surviving allies HP by very small effect. We know that very small effect is not much. In her case, because of the lob, should be around 170, but she can cast this every single turn. Telekinesis in JP could not, because she only got 4 BP by a turn, so eventually she will run out of BP. And she was not so supportive and not so resistant. Now you can just keep doing damage with double elements, buffing your damage, your accuracy, and healing every single turn. Telekinesis is an attempt in the game to give you more tools to keep healing constantly. The game is becoming harder and harder. The bosses are doing a lot of damage, so having tools to heal without spending LP will be important, because look, Healing Rod uses 1 LP. You can only use this 5 times in a fight, and then if she dies, she's totally gone. But Telekinesis can be casted, and you can try to avoid the need of using Healing Rod. Healing Rod is just for emergency situations. Okay, and now we are on Nelroma SaGa. I made a filter to show all characters with a skill that can heal the whole party without spending LP. On the top, we have characters that have very high cost skills, so they are not spammable, but it's worth noting that Prefector Emilia uses 9 BP and cleans, so she usually attacks every 2 turns, but still not as spammable. Then we will have Matcha in the future. She uses 9 BP for double healing, so that means that she heals 2 times every 3 turns, so 2/3. Then this character uses 8. This Monica is different, she uses LP. Then we have 6 BP with Golden Ball, but her main gameplay is to use a shield, not as a skill. Then we have UDX Snowy that uses 6 BP, but in global he gets access to 4, still not so spammable. Then there is this version of Candy. In the future he's gonna get 5 BP skill, but he only gets 3. And then we can see it here, Spell Girl, while there are some other comparisons. Well, I will show you one of them. Josephine will receive a new style in Christmas, and this style will have a spell called Weather Rain that deals AoE damage and will recover all surviving allies with double element damage too. But I have to say that I much prefer the single target option with a Spell Girl, because when you want AoE, you are better off using Mariah, but I'll get into that later. The problem is that Miss Surfing only gets 3 BP. She starts with 13, but she will not have enough to keep spamming Weather Rain, and she's a character from the future. We also have another one. This one is Matcha. Like you said, she's also a very good one, but she only gets 3 BP by a turn, and this attack, Divine Tree, will heal twice using 9 BP EP means that usually you'll be able to use every 3 turns with double healing. The damage is 2 hits with C power. If you use a Spellgirl attack twice, you're gonna do more damage than that, especially because she keeps buffing herself. Then we have the other competitor, that is Candy. Candy has 2 styles in the future, and this attack here is just the same thing. 5 EP, 8 power, pretty close, and then will also heal everyone and increase the status element resistance of everyone on the same time. It's also a character that you can use together in the future or just replace depending on the situations, but this style is actually very recent on JP. You can check it here. It's from June. Now, the next one is the one that can replace, and it's just as good as a Spellgirl, but with some different usage. Christmas will have a version of Final Impress that has this attack here called Holy Month. This one is an AoE attack with 2 BP costs only that deals some damage, deep power, and recovers everyone. There is just one thing, her love and charisma are not so high. The heal will be a little less, but because we have Global X Final Impress, we can even just inherit this attack and use it together with the shield. When you need a shield, use the shield. When you need to heal, use this. It's gonna be one of the best investments, and she can also do damage for AoE, give also defense enhancement. Is one of the best characters in the game, and all these comparisons are from the future. I said Final Impress. She uses an AoE attack. She may not be so strong as well. What does make a Spellgirl better than the competition most of the time? Damage. Yes, Spellgirl is actually a damage dealer, capable one on that. May not be so strong at the start of the fight because she takes time to keep buffing herself, and because you are always attacking with the B power. Like I said, this is almost as high as a power, and she can keep using it forever. When you need to overdrive, you can even use her third skill, but more into that later as well. And I did a comparison with Mariah. Well, why Mariah? Because Mariah was an option when we needed more HP heals, and we couldn't get from any source besides Steel Blade Light, and there were times where Steel Blade Light was not enough, especially the Ludwig fight in Ward Tower. And then Mariah has Tidal Blessings. When she's attacked, she has a 50% chance to heal. So Mariah, better for multiple attacks. While if you are doing some content where there's no much control over who the boss is targeting, Spellgirl will be better because she will keep the healing going. And let me tell you another thing, Spellgirl can even be used together with Mariah if you want, because she is a damage dealer. She's doing damage while supporting the squad. Mariah hardly ever does damage. She can instead debuff STR with her Acupuncture Plus. She also has access to an AoE heal and recover spell that makes her super important. She can even self-heal with her Poseidon shot. But like I said, Spellgirl's is different. She brings damage, and sometimes you may need an extra damage to finish a fight fast. Well, now we leave Liam meta, and he deals blunt, slash, and cold damage. Look on the Spellgirl, she deals heat and shadow damage. That means that she does not clash with Leon. There will be times where you cannot use Leon on full potential and she will help, or maybe you're using Leon together. Doesn't matter, damage will be pretty good while you are also adding support. Now I want to compare her to other characters like Barthélemy. Barthélemy, last style, this one called To Reclaim Myself, is actually very strong. He buffs his intelligence by 20%, that's the same values, and also grants himself a defense boost. Well, she also has 30%, same thing. He gets this passive where he can help the squad with agility and intelligence, but if you ignore this only triggers 25% of the time, they are similar. He opens with Void, a weak attack, and he stacks this weak attack till he can nuke. But you need 2 styles of Barthélemy because he's going to nuke with this attack here that comes from this style, call it Scatter Explosions. He only nukes for fire, but he slowly burns and becomes a very powerful boss killer. Other comparison that should be made is with Apollo. Apollo latest style is similar. He buffs his intelligence, but he also buffs will. It's a very good defensive strategy as well, and grants himself a defense boost. He will be using an inherited attack called Masamune Plus. That is, well, pretty similar damage modifier. That in his case is slash and heat, not shadow and heat. And after stacking some buffs, he will just use Masamune Fury on overdrive. Look on this damage, double S 53, right? Well, now it's good to talk about Esper Girl. And before I go, Apollo needs 2 styles, just like Barthélemy, to make his build. Well, another comparison I want to make is with Mirza, or even Leon or Gerard, characters that have access to Steel Blade Light. Well, when I'm using Steel Blade Light right now in the game without buffing Love or Charisma, I'm healing 800 HP every time I use. And well, you start the fight with MVP, you can use Steel Blade Light right on start, but then if you don't have anyone else buffing BP, you need to wait 4 turns so that you can use Steel Blade Light again. And I have to tell you that if you are using a Spell Girl, in 4 turns you're going to heal to as close as possible as Mirza. Mirza just heals 4 times more. So depending on the situations, healing every turn before you actually get to critical HP may be more interesting, or if you need too much healing, you can just use them all together. It will also work. The Spell Girl can also nuke after stacking many intelligence buffs. She's going to do that with Dimensional Aura that also brings support. This skill is double element, shadow and heat, like I said, double S power 50 mod, and will grant all surviving allies a guard up medium effect. That is 25% decrease in damage for only 1 turn, but also a shield that will decrease shadow and cold damage by 35% each. You know what's nice? This stacks, so if your enemy has an attack that's both shadow and cold, you're gonna decrease it by a lot. Well, it's a novelty. It's not something that you're going to use all the time. But the good thing is that if she skips 1 turn of telekinesis, she already saved 5 VP. She will be able to use Dimensional Aura super fast by skipping 1 turn. And if you start the fight without using telekinesis, for example, you can save 5 VP and be on 15 most of the time. There's only one problem with that. Her normal attack is based on dexterity, and look on this, you'll probably be missing your normal attack, so you will not get Reinvigorate to trigger. So I believe it's better to just use telekinesis, and when you are on overdrive or in a special moment, you're going to use Dimensional Aura, or you can just bring other characters that can buff BP to the squad, and she will be able to use it more often. In my opinion, Dimensional Aura is saved for overdrive moments. With that said, it's a very interesting setup. Dimensional Aura has fast, it's always go first. The only problem is using this with Tiger's Den formation, where if you attack before the enemy, you lose the formation bonus, but if you're doing that, you're probably doing that to make your party survive against a nuke, so it will have its usage. Because she has a damage reduction passive, it's not gonna be so much of a problem, at least in my opinion. Well, a Spell Girl does not need inheritance, she comes ready for action. So with that, we have a heal spell, a damage attack that can heal, and a damage attack that is both fast and gives sustain. At least the guard up medium will always work, while the cold and shadow shield will be more niche. For inheritance, I have to say that she does not need any, but from her last style, you have Flare Tome. This will be amplifiable in the future, and it will become a power with 35 mod. Very strong if you stack your intelligence buffs and use it, but since you are just using single target attacks, switch to AoE may not make that much sense, so I don't think it's needed. Then you have the free ass style that has Sick Ball. This one is both heat and shadow as well, and can be used for 4 BP, meaning that, yeah, she always leave 1 BP to stack and use something else later. That is if you want to use her for damage and there are way too many enemies, but I still don't think that is something that is important, because once more, a Spell Girl is made for when there's one boss, or you better using Mariah most of the time. Another type of content where a Spell Girl will shine is Wastelands, because sometimes your Mariah would not be hit to heal the squad, and you don't want to keep using LP spells to heal the party. You eventually run out. So Spell Girl keeps the healing going, and you can just wait till there's only one enemy, heal everyone to max, kill this enemy, go to the next wave with full HP. That is something that will work. But guys, she's not here to replace Mariah. She's actually pretty close to a side grade with more focus on damage, while Mariah has a more support sustain setup. You can use them together if you want. There will be scenarios where they may be useful. A Spell Girl is also very good to be paired up with, well, the obvious iToken. Why iToken? Let's talk about iToken as a pair, because iToken buffs Love. When he buffs Love, you're going to heal more. iToken also has a chance of healing everyone in the end of a turn. That is 37% chance. This is going to help you have even better healings. And Heroes War Song heals as well, buffing love and cleansing if you ever need cleanse. Then there's yet another character works well, and it's Metrock version 3 with her Peon of Peace. Peon of Peace buffs dexterity, will, love, and charisma, and it's something that is used together with Leon to increase the damage. And by buffing love, you're going to get better healings. Every turn, she can reach as much as 350 and pretty close to 400 healing when using on Tortoise formation, for example, and that can be very strong. In Tortoise formation, you're going to get the heal from the formation on the start, and then get the heal that she does when she's attacking. So at max potential with Token and Metrock, you'll be healing for close to 700, 800 every turn. Yeah. But there's more to that story. The Tortoise formation allows you to keep the healing going and increase the heal potential, but it decreases the damage by only 10%. There is another formation called Tiger's Den that we use. That formation decreases damage by 50% if your character attacks after the boss. Well, that's why we don't use Peon of Victory in that formation anymore, and you can opt to use Tiger's Den now, because Token in Metrock will not buff your agility. You're still going to attack F, and if you prefer to decrease damage even further instead of a second heal, you can just place a Spell Girl there healing every turn alongside either Mariah or Steel Blade Light User. You're just going to receive even less damage than Tortoise. You sacrifice the heal, you get more resistance, or you get double heal with less resistance. Depends on the situations, depends on the boss that you're fighting, but it's two different strategies. Well, we're going to get back to Spell Girl now, and I have to say that yes, she is a meta character, but a meta character with alternatives, side rates, and different strategies. Do you really need a Spell Girl? No. If you have Mariah, you're going to use her in most scenarios where a Spell Girl can also work. Maybe sometimes you're going to reset because Mariah didn't heal in that specific moment where a Spell Girl could just be better. This banner is not so good, and there's only 2 limited styles, so even if a Spell Girl is a meta character, again, what is a meta character? A character that exceeds in its role. You can just find alternatives. With that said, that Spell Girl is going to receive a triple S, will be one of the last characters on the tier list, but because she's a very strong damage dealer while also offering support in a capability that no one can compete. And if you don't want to summon for a Spell Girl right now, you don't need to. You can wait till Christmas and summon for Final Impress, or wait for a rerun of UDX's banners where a Spell Girl can be included. So only summon if you feel like you need her and have the chance to do it, or wait for the future. And now we have Mech, a character that was first released in a SaGa Soul banner with this first style, Your Best Equipment Please. And now we have Explore Unknown Worlds, a platinum style that's not limited and will be added in the platinum pool. We can compare the status. We have a lower endurance by 10%, the same dexterity, higher agility by 10%, whoa, and then intelligence is inferior by 10%, and then will is superior by 10%. Oh my god, they have almost the same status. Let's click on this one. We have a focus on both dexterity and agility with double arrows for agility, while the past Mech has focus on endurance, dexterity, and agility with the bonuses for dexterity and agility. So, kind of the reverse. This platinum version of Mech is an AoE attacker for farming setups, although his first passive is strange. Detox Heal cleanses him on the end of a turn and recovers HP by around 150. Well, if you are farming, you don't need this, because his second passive is made for farming. Dex Well 4 increases his dexterity by 25% on the start of a round, so it just eventually disappears. And then the last passive is called High Battle Tension, that increases damage by 20% and starts the fight with 11, allowing him to do some things. So 20% increase in damage, dexterity buff, heals on the end of a turn, and cleans and starts with 11. For skills, the first one we have is called Scattered Arrows. For 3 BP, you get a deep power attack with 10 mod that deals pierce damage. Yeah, pierce with guns. In this game, when I started playing, I thought that guns would do pierce damage, but no, it's blunt. But in this case, it's pierce, but you understand why later. Now the second skill, Laser Blast. For 5 BP, you get an AoE attack with blunt and heat, deep power, 12 mod, a little higher, and has a chance to inflict paralyze. Paralyze. Why does it have a chance to inflict Paralyze if this character has only 40% intelligence? Only one reason why. Remembrance battle against the real queen. Well, you don't need a very high intelligence because she debuffs her will, her resistance, and then Mech will just paralyze her anyway. Or you can even use the first Mech if you have him, with a little higher intelligence for better chances to paralyze. The good thing about Laser Blaster is that you can use this 3 times in a row. You could compare this attack to Random Shot, something that Leon does. It's pretty powerful for farming. If you look on his S style, we have Random Shot that has 16 mod. Random Shot is stronger but does not bring heat. We're just having now a new way to do heat damage with gunners, with the Sheep Coast. And now for the last attack, we have Pulse Cannon. With 11 BP Coast, you have an 8 power 30 mod attack that hits all enemies. Well, you can open with Pulse Cannon then, and then use Scatter Arrows, right? But you are going from blunt damage to pierce. Some enemies may be weak to both, but you hardly find any that are, so it will depend if the first wave have different enemies than the second. But this was actually made as a complement to the first Mech, because the first Mech has actually 2 different openers. With Leopard 2, it can open with blunt and heat, although not that powerful, only 23 mod, or he can open with Legendary Treasure. That is actually an attack that slash and pierce. That is actually why Mech was so relevant in the past. You could use him on Rainbow Rangers formation, on the dexterity position, and do both slash and pierce. And now you can open with that and inherit Scattered Arrows and keep using. But if you are bringing Mech for farming now and you have both styles, you will be using the Platinum one since it deals a little extra damage. Just import your Legendary Treasure, and then after that it's going to use Scattered Arrows. Or you can also just inherit Leopard 2 for blunt and heat, and then you can use Laser Blaster on the second turn. You cannot use that on turn 3, but you still be able to use at least Scattered Arrows. So Mech increases the utility of those that stopped using the first Mech because it didn't have a follow-up after opening with a Legendary Treasure. Now you have a full AoE cycle, although sometimes it's a little strange. So for those that have the first limited Mech, this one adds different attack cycles, but as a standalone unit, it has ups and downs. It's going to receive an S grade, and only because it's a recent unit, it will become less and less relevant in the future. Well, the next one is Human Male. We have 3 different styles of him in the game. The first one is limited, the last one is given out in events, the second one is the current one. This is the one, a Platinum style that will be added to the Platinum banners later. Well, they have pretty similar status when you compare the limited and the Platinum one. We get lower endurance, we do have a damage reduction passive, and higher agility. Well, the other status are pretty similar to compare. This one has a focus on endurance and dexterity. That goes for the arrows, but the bonuses are for the defensive status, endurance and will. You don't get bonus for agility or dexterity, but this doesn't matter too much. And when you look to his passive style, it has a higher focus on dexterity and agility to work better as a farmer. Well, the clean design here is to sustain while doing damage. First passive we have is Munition Revenge. When being directly attacked, it will always counter attacks, always, with chain munition. This attack here is C power, indirect of course because it's using a gun, and deals blunt and slash. Guys, this is actually pretty good. C power may not be as high as Mirage Blade Plus from a version of Bertrand, but it triggers all the time. That means that you can place him in a formation where he's going to get attacked. If there's too many enemies attacking, he's going counter. I wanted to make him work many times, but it's just that it was not always the best slot. You can see here Absorbing Light. This passive negates some damage and counter direct attacks with Mirage Blade Plus. Mirage Blade Plus is only B power. Bertrand does not have the highest STR to compensate, and well, it's only 1 damage type. Guns have very good damage calculations, so the damage between them won't be that different, and you may are gonna hit for blunt and slash cover more weaknesses. Very nice, especially because of his kit. Second one is Iron Wall Defense 6, decreasing damage by 40% at all times. So yeah, he does have have high endurance and will and can even decrease damage further if he's going to be attacked. Then the last one is hyper overtension, 20% increase at all times, then 35 on combo and 50 on overdrive. It's good. Why? Because the more he gets attacked, the more overdrive he's going to get till he reaches overdrive to use something that will do more damage. Some counter attackers gets overdrive in like 1-2 turns. This may happen depending on the number of enemies on the field. For skills, we have Grenade Guard. This is a single target attack with C power and 17 mod. Actually pretty strong for itself, gives him guard up medium for 2 turns. Decreases damage by 25%, so his agility's not that bad, but you may not attack before the boss. Medium, decreasing damage, he already has auto wall defense, you get what it works. Then the second attack is Bazooka. For 6 BP, you're going to buff your dexterity by up to 25% when you use it, and actually has very strong power, A and 34 modifier. Depending on the situations, you may just want to use Bazooka first, buff your dexterity so your counter does more damage, and then use someone else in the party to give guard up instead of using it yourself, because you're going to be able to use Bazooka 2 times. And then just use Bazooka again or switch to Grenade Guard later depending on the situations. Or you can choose a different route. Bazooka will work better if you're using Tiger's Den or something like Desert Lance X, because you're going to be attacked anyway. But depending on the formation, you prefer to use Great Adventure, the third attack. This one is pretty powerful for the coast, I can tell, because it's a gun skill. If it was not, it will not be that strong. It's 3 hits with deep power and hits for blunt and slash. Again, he is a blunt and slash damage dealer with his counter. Then, after each hit, he gets a defense boost stance. Those 3 defense boost stances will stack, decreasing damage even further. Because defense boost stances are harder to find, you're better off bringing someone with guard up instead of using himself, getting your defense enhancement from Great Adventure, and it will also taunt him. So he's going to get hit more often. So plenty of effects in a single skill. This attack actually comes from Father. Yeah, but he is an upgrade over what Father ever was. Father has this changing less on passive that it's not made for boss fights. He has Guardian that takes a light place and reduces the damage, but because he already taunts, he has a high chance of being attacked instead of the enemies, and it always just matters for AoE. The only thing he lacks is the AoE attack. Platinum style competes against the premium one and even beats, but Father will be better in the future when he gets his next style. That is for sure. Also, Father can be used on Remembrance Battle. While you can kinda use him on Mayo, it's just that with Leon in the field you barely needs anything, but you can protect Leon better with Human Mayo. You just use your Great Adventure, get more attack, and Leon gets protected. Protect the champion is the strategy here. You can find some inheritance if you have the limited style, that is Chain Munition. This one is an AoE attack that can be used on turn 1 and turn 3, but I do think that we have just so many different setups now where you can just find turn 1 and turn 3 AoEs. Pulse Cannon cannot be used on turn 1 because you don't start with 11, so the inheritances are pretty useless in my opinion. And then you have his S style where you can get Chainsaw, doesn't matter, or Hand Grenade. This is at least interesting since it's 3 BP and AoE. Let's say that you are in a counter scenario and you want to keep doing even more AoE damage, so Hand Grenade may help you, but only after you use Great Adventure, because that helps you get defense enhancement and taunt. So yeah, it's a pretty simple design, but just a design that works, a character that will taunt, counter, decrease damage, and keep this going. Human Mayo is a platinum style that receives double S grade because of the kit that he has to offer, but no rush to get him. He works here and there, but you can simply wait till he gets added to the platinum pool to summon for him. Well, now back to the banner image. Is this banner worth summoning for? Well, it really depends. I love Spell Girl. It's a character that adds some new type of strategy where Mariah may not work so well. We don't have this type of utility, but Human Female, although very strong, does not offer too much besides what we have been getting recently, since evasion strategies are harder and harder to perform. Bosses have too much accuracy, they have too much agility. These days, it's not like it was in the past. This banner will still receive a silver award, but only because both Human Female and Spell Girl don't need inheritance. They are good by themselves, while many characters that we sometimes summon for will need inheritance. Only because of this, they were pretty close of only receiving a bronze award. Proceed with caution. Although Esper is amazing, in my opinion, she is not something that you cannot skip. You can skip her if you have Mariah and Steel Blade Light users. New players may find more utility by replacing some of these characters with a Spell Girl. That may work for them if they are missing out in support. So think well before deciding to pull. Check your box if they are going to add something for your strategies, especially for Remembrance Battle if you need. Remember that Mech will eventually come to the Platinum just like Human Male. The only limited ones here are Human Female and Esper Girl. I will wait as well at least 1 week to see the next banner announcements till I decide if I want to pull or not, especially because they don't have gens as well. So this is my opinion. What is yours? Please say here on the comment section if you're going to pull or not. I hope this video can help you decide. If you want to support the channel, there are links on the description of the video. I hope to see you soon in the next one. Bye.